meeting to order, 7 o'clock. With the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Slade.
Present.
Emily.
Present.
Cody.
Yep.
Doug. Kyle.
Yep.
Okay, now we take nominations for board chairman. Have any nominations?
I'll nominate Kyle again.
Any other nominations?
I'll nominate Emily.
Okay, have a motion to cease nominations for board chairperson? A second?
Second.
Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay, then we need to vote. Wait. I'll do roll call. Slade?
I'll vote for Emily.
Emily?
Emily.
Cody?
Kyle.
Doug?
Emily.
Kyle?
I'll go Emily.
Okay. So require a motion to approve Emily.
So moved.
Cody? Have a second?
Yep.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Okay, Emily, you have to take over.
We literally were in, backed up traffic this whole time. I just got back to our Airbnb because we were stuck out of Yellowstone. I'm just pulling up the, agenda right now, just give me one moment.
No problem.
Deputy owners, you can continue with the nominations and then she can get
Okay,
everything loaded up and.
okay, we
she
need a
can take over after that.
nomination for vice chairperson.
Nominate Kyle.
Any other nominations? Okay, I need a motion to cease nominations for board chairperson.
So moved. Twice.
Sorry. Vice chairperson, second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Same. Okay, so we'll need a motion to approve Kyle as board
So moved.
vice chairperson. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Now if Emily's having difficulties, and Kyle, you can just take over. How you doing, Emily?
Good.
Okay,
I'm good. I've got it up here.
okay. Go ahead, take it
Okay,
away.
so the next item on the agenda is board member oath of office.
All right. Doug, I'll have you, since you're here, read that out loud.
I, Doug McCune of Freeman School District, number 33-1, having been elected or appointed as school board member of the above-named school district in the above-named county, South Dakota, do solemnly swear that I will support the laws and Constitution of the United States and of the state of South Dakota, and to faithfully perform the duties of school board membership by filing a bond if required by law and having it approved. Subscribed and sworn to me before me this day, 12th day of July, 2021.
And then you can sign it on the first line. I don't know how to have Emily do hers.
Maybe you can read a couple words and let her repeat and.
Oh, can you hear me, Emily?
I can.
So I, Emily Anderson.
I, Emily Anderson,
Of Freeman School District number 33-1,
of Freeman School District 33-1,
having been elected or appointed as school board member
having been elected or appointed as school board member
of the above named school district
of the above named school
in
district
the above named county,
in the above named county
South Dakota,
in South Dakota,
do solemnly swear that I will support the laws,
do solemnly swear that I will
support the
support
laws
the laws
and
sorry,
Constitution of the United States
and Constitution of the United States
and the state of South Dakota,
and the state of South
and
Dakota,
to faithfully perform the duties of school board membership,
faithfully
perform the duties
perform the duties of school board membership,
and by filing a bond,
and by filing a bond
if required by law,
required by law
and having it approved.
and having it approved.
Subscribed and sworn to me this day, the 12th of July, 2021. And then I'll have you sign it when you come back.
Okay, sounds great.
That's it.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is any additions to the agenda. We will require a motion to approve the agenda.
So any additions that we had to the agenda, I put your board packet and highlighted those in yellow. So under the consent agenda, very happy to add F, which would be the approval for the contract of a guidance counselor. Under the number 12 would be discussion, or sorry, 11, amending that language. Thank you, Doug, for that amendment. Motion to hire an architecture firm. And then 12, discussion for Freeman Public Schools to add a building and grounds committee. And 13, discuss Freeman Public Schools to organize a task force committee. And those were the additions to the original agenda.
All motion to approve.
Any other additions? Motion by Cody.
Yep,
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
Second by,
Kyle.
sorry guys, it's hard for me to see anybody's mouth.
Kyle.
Okay, Kyle, perfect.
No, just right, Kyle.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, conflict of interest disclosures.
There were none.
Great. Next item on the agenda is public input.
There
Or
are
any,
none.
what's that?
There are none.
Okay, wonderful. Moving on to the following agenda item, consent agenda. So we'll require a motion to approve the following: the minutes of the regularly scheduled school board meeting of June 14th, 2021, minutes of the Board of Health Cooperative meeting of June 11th, 2021, financial reports, including accepting the resignation of Jacqueline Herbold, and we thank her for her years of service. The contract of Sally Gimbel, paraprofessional for the 2021-22 school year. The contract of Lucy Whitcock, school counselor for the 2021-2022 school year, as well as claims for July. We need a motion
So moved, Slade.
and a second.
Second. Done.
Wonderful. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is old business. Is there any old business to discuss? No? Okay, then moving on, we'll go to administrative reports.
I don't have anything. Happy to have our administrators here with us tonight. We haven't been working very long together yet, so there's not a whole lot to provide for updates, but I did want to give them an opportunity to say hello and maybe introduce yourself again, Katie, and say anything that you have to update the board?
Yeah, so Katie and Pete. No, it's been good. We've been in a couple of times working with Mr. TG, and we've gotten some things set up for the beginning of the school year and working on getting some meetings set up, so it's good stuff. That's it.
I can say hi, Shane. For the superintendent report, mine's a little bit lengthier. First of all, it's feels like it's been a long time since we sat in this room for the interview, and it's been waiting for this, anticipating this moment for a couple months now. It feels really good to be here with you in this meeting finally. I would like to thank the board members and thank the staff who assisted in us for finding a home in Freeman, and just everybody in Freeman that's been very welcoming in the time that we've been here so far, so thank you for that. For the superintendent report, I'd like to first of all recognize Christy Sage. She's been recognized as a has received her certification for National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association certification. That's a very prestigious honor for activities directors to receive that certification, so congratulations to her. She was planning on being here tonight, but I think she's probably still finishing painting a house right now, so I talked to her this morning, so she said she might not be here in time for the meeting. Had a meeting with our mayor, Mike Walter, and talked about the baseball softball complex. Very excited to work with Mike and the city with this project and work together with them to make this project a reality. We both agreed that we have on the agenda tonight, we have choosing the architects for the wrestling room project, and we decided that we were gonna see that through first and then take the first steps of that, and then we hope that we can work on this project together simultaneously with that project. So once we get this other project, get that ironed out a little bit more, we'll pick up where we left off with that conversation. But it's good to sit down with Mike. Fence on the east side of the building. So you may have noticed this was something that's been there for quite some time. This is, I believe it was an accident that took out that fence back in the wintertime. So I have communicated with Jerry from Bubba's Digging. He's also the one that's coming in to dig the holes for the scoreboard. And so while he's here digging the holes for the scoreboard, he's gonna pull out those posts that have the concrete attached to them. I've been in contact with Michael's Gate and Supply in Sioux Falls, so they do custom fencing, so we can put the fencing posts in, and our custodial staff will help us out with that. Trying to get somebody to come in and do the maintenance for that, the install for that is mid-October is the earliest we could get somebody in. So I'll probably go and pick up the posts from Michael's and bring those here, and we can get the holes dug, and our custodial staff can set them. Then we can take the measurements just to make sure that we have it exact, and send those measurements back to Michael's, and then they'll put together the custom built gate for us for that project. So the reason we're going with the gates, the fencing, we're right where the first post was taken out, the fencing was damaged, so we would have to put a piece of fence in there anyways. And I was having a conversation with our custodial staff and just brainstorming and said, hey, how do you feel about a gate here? Would it be helpful to have that ability to be able to drive a lawnmower through? And they said, that's a good idea. That's something that would make a lot of sense for us. So we would have had to purchase the fence anyways. So we'll just, for the convenience factor, we'll add that gate there too, and make it easier for them to get their lawnmowers in and out, unless there's any objections from the board with that. Scoreboard project, so that's gonna be going on simultaneously, or starting simultaneously with that fence project. Chad Meyer from Neon Signs will be the one performing the install, and then, as I mentioned, Jerry from Bubba's Digging will be digging the holes for the concrete. So the target goal for that is to have that project completed by August 13th. That way we know we have everything free and clear for any activities that are going to be happening out in the track football complex, and then also be working on installing the panels in the gymnasium as well. ESSER 3 has recently been approved. South Dakota's recently been approved from the U.S. Department of Education. That was last Wednesday. So we have two plans that we have to submit coming up here by August 20th. We have the ESSER 3 plan. This is a budget plan that the district has to spend the dollar and those dollars, and we'll get into the dollar figures in a little bit here. And then we have a safe return to school plan that we also have to put together. What we're planning on doing is having both those plans put together in detail and submitted at the August 9th board meeting. We have to have those available for the public for feedback and school board vote. They also need to be posted on the school website, and then also on the state website, and that has to be done. Deadline for that is August 20th, so if we have that presented at the August 9th meeting, give us plenty of time to get that all posted by August 20th. With those funds, we have until December of 2024 to spend the following funds, and the total dollar amount is $705,814. Out of that dollar figure, 20% must be reserved to address learning loss through the implementation of evidence-based interventions. And that total 20% dollar figure would be $141,163. What we've been working with as an administrative team is brainstorming what are some ideas that we could put into this plan that's due by August 20th for us to be able to use those funds wisely and help us students with that learning loss that they experienced. The remaining 80% must be used to support students during the COVID-19 pandemic, so a little bit more open-ended with that, and that dollar figure is $564,651. So what we'll be putting together throughout the next month will be a plan for how we're planning on using those funds, and then submitting that to the state, and as well as putting together our safe return to school plan. There has been some questions that have been presented to me of what are things going to look like, and I think our students are probably getting a little anxious. Parents may be a little bit anxious to see or hear what we're anticipating school is going to look like, and barring no directives that we would receive from the state for mandated masks or anything of that nature, we are looking at that every student will be back in the building full-time without face masks. And that's something that we're very hopeful that we can get through with this COVID thing behind us, and that we can start taking steps towards getting things from that standpoint, back to normal. Wrestling room project, so the RFPs have been submitted. Those were submitted electronically to you at the end of last week, and then also mailed to each of you. Hopefully you had a chance to review those. We'll discuss those at the board level a little bit later, and then tonight we're scheduled to choose an architecture firm to hire for that project. The ASBSD and the SASB convention, a reminder that is coming up on August 5th and 7th, 5th through the 7th, I believe. I may have a typo there. I'll confirm that via email just to make sure you're aware of the dates. But a reminder to board members to make sure you respond to me via email by this evening, so we can get registration taken care of for that. I believe we have till Friday, and then after Friday, this coming Friday, then the fees go up a little bit. So we want to make sure we get the registration taken care of by then. We have a final item from me for the superintendent's report. Valley Electric, just this evening, about 10 minutes before I came in here for the board meeting, submitted an estimate for the electric project. I have not been on board throughout this project, so I'm going to turn this back over to you guys for any discussion that you may have for it. But as you can see, this is the submitted estimate. And that concludes the superintendent report, and I'll let you guys take it over from there.
So I don't have the information with the estimate in front of me, but I'll certainly open it up to others for discussion.
Was Ryan proposing to do this in multiple phases?
That was his plan, yes, was to do it in multiple phases.
It looks like it says in here, the high school side and the part of the gym lines.
Yeah, I was trying to read through it here.
And I think, if I remember right, that, I don't know if he was doing the entire, or if we had talked about just doing like hallways and such to start with.
I know he said that he made a note with the battery backup. So there wasn't a number exactly how many battery backup lights that we actually have here. And without actually taking the lights down, you can't figure out how many we have. So there was he he just made a little note in there that, you know, it wouldn't include those type of deal.
I guess my question of the phasing would be, what this price includes, which phases, and if there's gonna be a third for classrooms and hallways in addition to this.
Sure.
I don't know if he's said what that might be.
So he did send one after I printed this one, so this, the one that you guys have in front of you would be the high school side. And then there's one that has the new LED lights on the elementary side and part of the gym lights. And goes on to say the price does not reflect any battery backup lights or anything of that nature. It is the same dollar figure as the high school quote for the elementary side.
So he broke it down into 2 phases, that's what I would think it is. The elementary side, roughly the same price as what the high school side is.
It is exactly the same price, that's $58,049.59. I didn't know what the urgency was for the board, we can simply have this just be an informational item and we can take any actions necessary at the next board meeting. I wanted to make sure that you had this in your hands since I just received it.
I guess I would just clarify that his, material cost includes sales tax, since he's not that split out. Cause sometimes that's a question for the
We
school
don't
district,
pay sales.
but contractor does. Contractor's responsible.
Excellent.
Unless the school pays for the lights directly, the contractor has to pay sales tax.
I had talked to Ryan about that a while ago, he was trying to get them locally. So I had talked that we, to save, because I think it ended up being like $5,000 in sales tax.
6.5%, so the school buys them direct. from-
Right,
is it a
and he
fence?
was, they were okay, he was okay with doing that, and they were okay with doing
Okay.
that, to save the sales tax on that. Well, at least he was, I assume he still is.
I would assume he still is.
From our previous discussions with them too, this would be a summer job, so both phases would be done, obviously this upcoming summer, not this summer, and then the year after that.
Unless we decided to go with phase 1, possibly get that done this summer.
Okay.
I would with material prices being inconsistent right now.
Yeah.
You would or wouldn't?
Would do it?
I kind of agree with Doug, I think we could, if we could get the ball rolling on this sooner than later, and just lock in that cost, at least we would have half of it done before prices would come.
You're gonna see at least 4% what it is next year anyway, so.
So then I'd make a motion to do phase 1.
I'd second that motion.
Kyle?
Slade?
Great, motion carries.
Do we vote?
Yeah,
We have to
still need to
vote, we have to
vote.
vote yet though, Emily.
Okay. Sorry, what was that, Kyle?
We have to vote yet, that was just a motion and a second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve phase 1 of the Valley Electric bid for the new to replace the lighting fixtures. Jake, anything else on your superintendent report?
No. That is it.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda I see is budget hearing
Yep.
for 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Close.
What was that?
So we're close, but I have 7 minutes yet.
You can try to.
Do we want to move on to another?
Yes, please.
Agenda item and circle back? Okay, that's great. We're gonna move on to new business. We will require a motion to designate the Freeman Courier as official newspaper for the district. Name Fortrust Bank, Merchant State Bank, and Great Western Bank as depositories, and authorize the business manager to move the district's checking accounts to any of the designated depositories at his or her discretion. Appoint Scott Brewer, Freeman Police Chief, and Jake TG Superintendent as truancy officers for the Freeman School District. Appoint the superintendent as, Title IX and 504 ADA coordinator. Readopt the cooperative special education comprehensive plan. Appoint the business manager as health insurance privacy officer. Appoint Dean Dreesen as the hearing officer for free and reduced meals. Authorize the business manager to invest and borrow district funds when feasible at his discretion and safe insured securities to earn a higher rate of interest whenever funds are available for a specified length of time. Appoint the superintendent as director of federal programs. Appoint the business manager as director of all accounts. Hold all board meetings at the junior senior high school the second Monday of every month at 7 p.m. in the high school media center. Authorize bids or quotes for fuel from the 2021-2022 school year. Designate Sam Currick, Lynn, Jackson, Schultz, and LeBron as legal counsel. Authorize the use of signature stamps for the business manager, board chairperson, and superintendent. Do we have a motion?
For D, and I think we did it last year, but I think, don't they suggest we have, for the Title IX thing, don't they suggest you have one male and one female?
Christy Sage did contact me and said that she had thought that she was nominated to be in that position as well, so we could add her and I to that position, if you would like.
I think that might make the most sense.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So we will appoint superintendent as well as Christy Sage at the Title IX and 504-88 coordinators.
Sounds great. I'll make a motion to move ahead. Slade?
Second,
Do we have
Doug.
a second?
Second, Doug.
Doug? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's see, what's the time here? Do we have time for another?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll move on. We're going to require a motion to designate a board member as well as an alternate to the Cornwall Cooperative.
Any volunteers?
Last year, who was in this position?
The chairperson.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's why I switched.
4 meetings a year?
Yeah, it's only 4 meetings a year, and
Oh, no, I'm more than happy to do that.
Perfect.
Who would like to be the alternate?
Well, I got railroaded last year because I was the new member, so.
Cody just volunteered.
No, I was gonna nominate Doug.
All right, Emily and Doug.
All right. Wonderful. I will need a
So
motion
moved.
to
Kyle.
designate board member Emily Anderson and alternate Doug McCain to the Burbach Cooperative. Motion?
Motion by Kyle, seconded by Slade.
Wonderful. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will require a motion to set activity admission prices for the 2021-2022 school year. Currently, adults are $5, $6 for double headers, students are $3, and $4 for double headers. Anyone have thoughts about that? Are we comfortable keeping the prices as is?
Consistent with what they bring.
Yeah.
It goes up a little for district tournaments and region tournaments, but otherwise we're
But
very
they
close.
set that, they set that.
And the state sets that.
I'll make a motion to keep them at what they currently are. Kyle?
I'll second that, Cody.
Motion by Kyle, second by Cody. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll also require a motion to set activity prices for the 2021-2022 school year. Currently, adults are $55, students are free for students attending Freeman Public School.
Is there a reduced rate for seniors, or are they free?
If they are in the district, they get free, or it's a lifetime pass.
It's a great question.
They have a lifetime.
Anyone?
We have a lifetime pass for seniors that are in the Freeman School District.
Yes, that's great. Wonderful. Everyone else comfortable keeping it at $55 for adults and free for students attending Freeman Public School?
Yes, so
Anybody?
move, Slade.
Wonderful. We need a motion by Slade.
Second,
by-
Cody.
Second by who?
Cody.
Cody. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next agenda item will require a motion to set board member pay for fiscal year 2021, currently $60 per meeting. I guess I don't know what's savvy in the market, so to speak.
It was 65, like, a few years ago, yeah.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to keep it as is.
okay.
Second.
Kyle keeps a motion to keep it as is, second by
Doug?
Doug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
We're
Motion carries.
at 7:30.
Will require a motion to set school lunch prices for the 2021-2022 school year. Currently adults $4, grades 6 through 12, $3.45, K through 5, $3.10. Reduced 40 cents, a la carte seconds $1.30, and milk 40 cents.
Emily, we're gonna double back to the budget hearing if that's okay.
That sounds good, yep,
Thanks.
I was wondering about that. Yep, we'll go back to the budget hearing.
Did you get a copy of that, Emily? No.
No, I just got the agenda.
There'll be a link in the latest agenda that I sent you,
Okay, okay,
the most recent
at
one.
3:45.
The budget's in there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Emily, that would have been.
I could scan it to you
paper
quick.
copy.
Okay, that's fine.
I certainly do.
I got you, give me one.
To her, yeah. It's Emily, is it emily.anderson@yahoo.com?
Yes,
I'll go scan them under your email, Emily.
Thank you.
SEM,
Yep.
thanks.
So it's basically what I presented in May, except I added in for the budget for the wrestling and also the grants, and just did a little bit of shifting around, nothing major. The final one will be in September then. That 90% of it is salaries. And benefits. It's in capital under plant operation and maintenance, yeah. And it's not, it's,
Not that terrible.
yeah. And I don't have that.
Emily, I
bit of
just
idea
scanned it
how much
to
it's gonna
my
be.
email and forwarded it to you. Did you get it?
Great,
So,
not yet, I'll refresh a couple more times here.
Yeah. Just let me know if you get it here in a second.
Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, Seth.
Sure. Otherwise, in the meantime, happy to open up discussion amongst the board members that are present that have a copy in their hands.
Thank you, sir.
Is that,
That's the co-op stuff.
oh, that's.
Yeah, 71.
There you go. You're right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's just what I know we're gonna do, is, yeah, there's a lot more money coming in the second. I have to specifically put it where it's gonna go, and put it in grant management. I only budgeted for what I know where it's gonna go. Or something,
Bless you.
nothing definite. They're still talking about the 20% set aside for sure.
Yeah, all that's for $3. A lot of changes to this budget, a lot of uncertainties right now. And we're budgeting for the wrestling project, and there's a lot of uncertainties with what the cost is gonna come in on that as well. So, playing an errand on the side of caution.
Hopefully by
on
the
it.
September when it's gonna be final, and I'll have better numbers.
And if any ESSER funds are used for any building project, we actually have our attorney looking into it, there's gonna be some more strict guidelines. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
they
what
have
we're-
not established them fairly yet.
Yeah, that's why we're looking at capital outlay, and right now capital outlay has a healthy fund balance, so we should be sitting okay with just using capital outlay dollars for that project. Depending on where the costs come in, that is, and if the board wants to, depending on where the costs come in, if we want to spend that kind of money.
Seth, I got that, copy of the budget, thank you.
Okay.
Discussion.
Any other thoughts?
I don't have any questions or concerns.
I don't either at this time. And Debbie said, you said that this will be final, you'll finalize this budget in September, so we'll revisit it again.
Yep, then you'll have to make a motion to approve it.
Right, but nothing, no motion needed at this
No.
point, okay. Sounds great. Is everybody okay moving on?
Affirmative.
Okay. Go back.
I think we finished on 6, right?
Issue, was it 6? Okay, perfect. Yep, that's what I have too, okay. Will require a motion that says full lunch prices for the 2021-2022 school year. Currently, adults are $4, grades 6 through 12, $3.45, K through 5, $3.10, reduced 40 cents, a la carte seconds, $1.30, and milk, 40 cents.
And so lunches are gonna be free again this year, so it
That's
doesn't
what my
really
question
matter.
was, okay.
For students.
Right,
But isn't there a limit on how high you can raise? You can only raise it a certain
10%.
10% a year.
Yeah.
So if you,
Yep.
if you don't raise it, then you might get backwards a year from now when you have to start charging and not be able to cover up your expenses.
And we ran into that 2 years ago where we hadn't raised it the year prior, so we had to raise it significantly. So yes, it might be prudent to,
Even though it's free.
correct, just to keep within the level we need to raise it.
Okay.
Especially food inflation is going up just as much as everything else. We don't wanna get stuck in 2 years having not raised it enough now. So I guess I'd propose a 4% increase.
We can only go
Good
10
times.
cents. That's-
Like I said, I'd propose a 10-cent increase. I thought you said we could raise it 10%.
No, 10 cents.
10
10
cents. Gotcha.
That's what I had too, okay.
Got it. Percent, sorry.
It's free, but does, do you have any budget on whether that would actually be, like, will we broke even? Do you chart that?
We still were breaking even when we raised.
No, I know, but like, do we get closer by doing it ourselves? Wasn't
Well,
that was kind of?
it's so hard to tell.
Right.
Everything- We just started having our own kitchen, and then they added free meals on top of it. And next year, for this next year, they're gonna reimburse at a higher rate, so.
So here's my question. We can only increase it by 10 cents. Is there a limit on how much we can decrease it in the future if we wanted to go back and we were making money on the program and wanted to just break even?
I don't know about decreasing, I've never really asked about that.
Right, so I think if we were to increase it now, just to make sure we're ahead of the curve, and had to decrease it next year after we figure out how much money it's actually gonna cost, if we go back to charging students for lunches, that'd put us in a pretty good spot.
Okay,
You guys okay with that?
Mhm.
We can always drop it, but we can't always raise it.
Right, no, I agree.
So you wanna go and dive across the board?
Time across the board, and then next year we'll revisit
10
it
cents.
after we find out how much money we'll be losing and see if we need to adjust it further. Or we can always remove that 10-cent or more increase and just go back to breaking even.
okay, just on the students, or the teachers too, I mean, the adults too?
Is that same inflationary factor? Is it the same across the board, we can only do 10 cents every year across the board?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think you can do it across the board, just so we don't get caught.
Yep.
Can we go over time though on, you're not talking like reduced or seconds or?
No, that we can't
Just
change.
meal there.
Okay, so it would just be adults from $4 to $4.10, 6 through 12 to $3.55, and K through 5 to $3.20.
Right.
Does that sound okay to everybody?
I'll make a motion. Kyle.
Okay, well, motion by Kyle, second by
Cody?
Cody. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item of the agenda will require a motion to set substitute pay for the 2021-2022 school year. Currently for 1 to 9 days, the substitute pay is $105, 10 to 20 days, $110, 20 plus days, $115. And mileage is paid for substitutes living outside of the Freeman city limits.
We changed that from consecutive to cumulative
Right.
days.
Yes, we
Right.
And I
did.
know COVID was in there. Did that make any difference? Probably
Well, a lot
hard to
of
tell.
my subs were retired teachers that didn't come back to sub till April after they got vaccinated.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could probably make that $200 a day, and I'm still gonna be short.
Right.
But increase to it's gonna help.
The daily rate, is that the same, say a substitute only covers 3 class periods?
It depends.
Is it per day?
Half days.
Or we can split it?
Okay.
Our sub list is very short.
Is that, are we competitive at all or not really?
I honestly couldn't tell you, Kyle.
Katie, do you know some pay was last year for
You were
part of
It's in this range, I would say, I wanna,
It's,
So
I
just
think
be a
it's
matter
about
of-
110, I think, maybe, or, I don't know what
I think
I'm
it's
saying
pretty
right now.
competitive.
I wanna say like Harrisburg a couple of years ago was about 120, but obviously that's Harrisburg, and that was probably 3 or 4 years ago.
address it later at the end.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
Second, Slade.
motion by Cody,
Yep.
second by Slade. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to set meal reimbursement for adults and students. Currently, for breakfast, adults are $6, lunch 11 and dinner 15. For students, breakfast $6, lunch 11 and dinner 15, so same.
I believe that
That's
was the
state
road.
These are state
Yeah,
rates or.
yeah.
All right, Mazers, so I need a motion to approve.
Kyle.
Second,
Cody.
everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'm gonna take down,
All right, Doug,
is that the right down?
Isn't this what Cody said?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll need a motion to set mileage reimbursement for staff members for fiscal year 2021. Currently, it's at 42 cents per mile.
This is state rate as well.
Too, right?
That's a state rate. Okay, need a motion to approve.
So moved. Cody.
Motion by Cody, second
Slade.
by
Slade.
Slade. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to set worker reimbursement for activity events for fiscal year 2021, currently $20 per event.
I do have some feedback from Christy on this one. She sent me an email on Sunday nights, and I was in meetings all morning, so I didn't get a chance to get into the board packet, the updated one for you guys. Emily, I will email that to you in a second here. Just send it to Emily.
Okay,
So the first side, Emily, that would be the email description for you. I just printed on one side for the rest of the board, the email from Christy. And then on the back side would be her recommendation of what to pay each position. She said she would be the one that would be signing the paperwork and monitoring each position and the amount that each position was paid. So with the variation of cost isn't gonna be an inconvenience to anybody. She'll be the one that's in charge of that. She did also say that if we felt that this is confusing, that she would be open just doing a flat rate of an increase of $5, so from 20 for last year to the $25 for this year per position or per event.
I think the pay schedule would actually be better, just because certain jobs are more difficult than others, so why would you pay the same for one versus the other?
I'd agree that varsity sports probably command a little bit higher rate.
Right.
okay. Any other thoughts? Okay, so we would like to, or we need a motion to adopt the pay scale for worker reimbursement for activity events for fiscal year 2021 to the pay scale that Christine's provided. Motion by,
I'll make that motion, Emily. Slade.
okay, second by,
Well, I know, but something.
I'll second, Doug.
Who was the first one?
second,
Slate.
Slade.
Slade. Second by Doug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to hire an architecture firm to work with the school district to design the Westlake facility.
So we sent out the request for RFPs, the due date was the 6th, and we had 3 groups that submitted RFPs. We had Stone Group, we had ISG, and JLG. Out of those three, we had two that contacted us and scheduled a time to come on site and learn more about the project. So for me, that was something that showed dedication towards this project from those two groups. I guess Stone Group was the group that we did not hear from, that they submitted, but I didn't get any phone calls about requesting more information or hear any contacts from them. Not saying that they should be eliminated from this group by any means, but speaking of what I have seen from the other two groups, ISG did come and did a site visit, and Emily and I were present, and Emily, I'll let you talk a little bit about ISG, and then Doug, I believe, was present for the JLG visit, so I'll let Doug talk a little bit about JLG.
Sure, so, as Jake said, we met with, Josh, Jake, I've got too many J's, on, July 1st, from ISG. We did, kind of chat with him a little bit about, the number of K through 12 projects that they've, accomplished, and, they've done 300 plus was the number that he gave us. They've been in South Dakota for the past 3 years. They were a Minnesota-based, initially based business. I did ask him how many of those 300 plus projects have been in South Dakota, and he said at this point 3 of them have been. So in Centerville, they're doing a kitchen renovation and an expansion currently, and they're doing a project in Elk Point Jefferson as well. And then they just completed a facility assessment in Webster. And he did outline kind of, the things that they have done in those communities as well, such as putting together a community task force that met with teachers and things like kind of approximately 25 community members as well to get their input, which I really liked about that. Just, to see what the community was feeling and what they would, support and things like that. I thought, asked some really great questions. We went out and looked at space and anything else that you have to add, I guess, Jake, from that?
They're a relatively newer company to South Dakota. They've done a lot of work in Minnesota. I'm very familiar with ISG. There's been 2 projects that I've worked together with Justin Steffel. Josh I have not worked with, but Josh is seems like he's pretty sharp and did a very good job answering our questions. With ISG, their project fees were at 8 to 10% of construction costs, and then $5,000 for schematic design. But if you read underneath that, the $5,000 for the schematic design is credited back if we choose them. Once the project is overall project compensation at the end of the conclusion of the project. So that would not be that 5,000 is misleading a little bit, but 8 to 10% would be where they're at.
Oh, I met with JLG, I believe it was on June 30th. Catherine DeKinga and Jim Holbeck came to make a site visit, showed her the space, they looked at the interior space. I have a lot of history with JLG. We've done 7 projects with them in the last 12 years, largest being a $25 million community center in Watertown. So I know Catherine very well. Her father founded a firm in Sioux Falls, so I've known her for quite a few years. I don't have any personal experience with ISG. I do have extensive experience with the Stone Group. The lead architect in the proposal used to be a former employee of mine, and the named architect in there I've also done 2 school projects with when he was with another firm. So from a fee perspective, GLG was the most aggressive of the group at 6.5%. And I guess based on my personal experience with them, they're a very good firm. They're employee owned. I believe right now they've probably got somewhere between 20 and 30 licensed architects on staff, so certainly have the capacity to do a project like this. And I've done 2 projects with Catherine personally, so.
Did you say Jim Holbeck?
Yes.
He's working for
And Jake, did you want to go over the RFP submitted by Stone Group, or?
Yeah, so Stone Group, just looking at all three of them, they came in at the highest at 12% of the general conditions fees. ISG came in second for the 8 to 10%. Other than what we all have in front of us for the literature, I don't have any additional information for Stone Group. And then JLG came in at the lowest, as Doug mentioned, at 6.5%. With RFPs, that were submitted to us with what was coming back for the quotes, I would say and Doug's experience working with JLG, to me, and my recommendation would be that we go with JLG.
So we're kind of waiting for, some stamped, whatever, stamped, paid documents or.
Yeah.
That, everybody has that link.
From what I saw, everybody's got stamped construction documents included with proposals.
Okay. That was kind of one of the reasons we waited.
All three of the firms, one comment, ISG has they don't employ outside consultants, all of their consultants are in-house engineering, civil, mechanical. Both Stone Group and GLG have worked with all of their consultants that they bring to the table extensively. The structural engineer from GLG, we probably do 15 to 20 projects a year with that engineer, so I'm very familiar with them. SBN's based out of Mitchell, so their consultants, both Stone Group and GLG's consultants are very solid.
So you go with the most competitive rate and most experience, and from what we see in the third, it's JLG, I would say we go with.
Anyone have any other different thoughts? Okay, so we'll require a motion to hire GLG as an architecture firm to work with the school district to design the wrestling room facility. I need a motion.
So moved. Cody.
Motion by Cody, second by
Kyle.
Kyle. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, discussion for Freeman Public Schools to add a building and grounds committee.
So it's very common that districts would have a committee work that goes on outside of the board meetings, and we're gonna have a lot going on now within the next couple months here. So with this wrestling around project, with connection with the city and the partnership that we have with baseball, softball complex, there's gonna be a lot of discussions that need to be had, and those discussions can't always wait for board meetings. So it's often very convenient to have a buildings and grounds committee that can have those discussions. Once these projects are done, it's still nice to continue with those meetings. It's not necessarily just the projects that we can discuss at these committee meetings. It could also be what we need for roof repairs and other things that go on around here with our facilities. So this was added for an agenda item to hopefully be able to increase the speed that we're able to communicate back with these architects and other individuals that will be part of these projects, the city as well. What I would recommend for a buildings and grounds committee, we can't have a quorum, so we would need 2 board members to be part of that. So 2 board members with the superintendent, and that we would keep it at that number of people, and then any additional input that we would need from these groups. So if we were meeting with the city, they would be considered a guest at our building and grounds meeting. If we needed to meet with administration, we could bring them in, activities director. So any other groups that would be need to be part of the conversation at whatever's on the agenda for the buildings and ground committee would be invited to these meetings. The advantage of having 2 board members, we can schedule them whenever we want, and we don't have to have a time frame. We don't have to advertise, because it's not an official board meeting. It's just 2 board members that are part of the committee discussions.
I would volunteer.
I will say one additional thank you for mentioning that, and thank you for volunteering. that they are appointed, committees are appointed by the board chair. So it's good to have, so you would appoint the committee, and then we would accept volunteers to be part of this committee.
You gonna volunteer me too?
If you
I
feel that that's
figured you
appropriate.
would, and I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we have Doug and Cody, that are going to be the, school board representatives on the building and grounds committee. Do we need a motion at all for that?
No, you would be appointing, that's correct.
I'm appointing them, everyone. Wonderful,
Well done.
okay. Next item on the agenda, discussion for Freeman Public Schools to organize a task force committee.
So this is something I've watched every board meeting for the last year here, any that have been posted, and I know there's been much discussion about a task force, and many of those meetings, the public meeting, and then after the public meeting as well, so I don't want to ignore this, and I want to send the message to the public that I was listening and watching as well, and wanted to put this on the agenda and pose this to the board. Is this something that we want to consider putting together a task force or reviving a task force if there is one that currently exists? What I heard last year, at one of last year's meetings was a recommendation from a member of the community that encouraged us to consider a Freeman public task force. So we know what exactly does Freeman public, what are the parents, what are the students, and what is the community feeling about the direction that we should move forward with the district, with some of those major things that were discussed last year, with the co-op and consolidation and other things that had been presented. So just doing a little bit of a pulse check could be something that this task force could help us to find out what are the thoughts, what are the feelings that are out there with the community and our students.
I mean, Kyle, I would welcome any historical, thoughts about that. I know that one meeting I was at, I know that just in a follow-up to the, conversation after the sports co-op, discussion and vote, that I think it was Cody and, who was the other person that I thought Slade had recommended maybe to kind of follow up with those other, to keep the conversation going, but, I didn't know if there's any, anything else to do with that, or if anybody else had, strong feelings about, being part of the task force committee.
I think it was Cody and I, and I know we kind of shot for July, but if somebody else wants to, by all means, that's fine, but yeah, I think, that's how you remember it? I think that's what we did. Christy was on there, and I think we were gonna do, like, was it school, the student council president,
Right.
maybe? And it seemed like there was one more, but I'm forgetting who it was. Nobody else remembers. And I told Jake, I don't remember what meeting that was at, they all kind of run together.
It was the meeting after the public meeting.
Mm-hmm.
The one that was all,
What's the feeling with the board? Does the board feel that is still something that the community is interested in? Is that something we want to move forward with? Something that maybe isn't necessary any longer?
I guess the real question is there a push to move forward with any further talks about a possible co-op or consolidation? The only people from the public who contacted me weren't from Freeman, they were from Marion. And their request was they would like to see consolidation talks, that they had, the people I talked to had accepted it, moved on, but the co-op was voted down.
I mean, I'm in favor of continuing to look at it. I don't know. Like you say, I have not heard anything beyond that point, and I know we kind of talked, July was the issue when it would change, whenever all the changes have made, and so maybe it is worth reaching out to see if there's still interest or not, I don't know.
I would say that if we're going to do that, we should maybe reach out and see if there's interest from other towns in the area as well, not just who we were previously speaking with. Maybe branch out our feelers to other communities as well as just Marion, see what our options would be. I don't know that the Marion co-op hasn't already been beaten into the ground enough, and with all the talks and meetings that we had previously, it didn't pass. I don't know if we need to go down that road again when I don't think the troops on the ground have changed all that much. Everything is still as it was last year. I could be wrong. But if we wanted to make a task force to find that out, I'm okay with that.
I think it's at least worth making a task force and
I agree.
finding out where we stand, and if it's done, then it's done. If it's not, then we'll continue to go forward. If that works.
On the task force, are we okay with it consisting of what was discussed at that previous board meeting? And I can go back to minutes or watch the video again and have that be the list, or do we want to set a new list? Would you
New
like
task
me,
force.
or would you like to choose the board members? Choose the board members, and then I can piece in the rest, or any recommendations from, you can email me a recommendation for any other community groups or individuals that you feel would be good people to have on the task force.
I remember from that meeting, it was, they talked about also like getting the coaches, a couple coaches or staff members on. And I had talked to Christy Sage that I would volunteer to be on that task force, to be a part of it. That was also, that conversation also happened that night about getting some staff members or coaches on that. And I approached Christy after the meeting that I would be a part of it, yeah.
If Cody wants off, I'd take his spot.
Okay.
We don't necessarily have to have two, but we could have two board members. Is there any others that would have interest?
I would have interest.
Okay.
Okay. So Doug and I are going to, in conjunction with Christy Sage and Chris Seiler also, to organize a task force committee to try and get more public input and thoughts in regards to possible sports co-op versus consolidation, and to reach out to other communities as well to gauge interest in sports co-ops and or consolidations as well.
When is the student body president elected?
Anything else?
Right away in August.
I missed.
I think, was it last, in spring, it was last spring, I think,
Yeah.
already.
That's already done.
Yeah.
So who is that individual?
Lily Whip and Zach Seiler for the.
Okay. And so then, Jake, you wanted us to reach out and discuss further any other community groups that might be a good addition to that task force, is that correct?
Yeah, any other individuals that are part of, any community groups that they feel would be appropriate, so feel free, any board member, feel free to reach out to me via email with those names. Is there a number that we would want to cap this group at?
Should be an even number, just so if there's a consensus amongst which way to move. Chris, are there any other coaches that you think would want to be involved?
I can't actually on the top of my head that would want to be on it. I know we probably don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. I mean, we don't want to.
We have 7 right now,
Mhm.
including me, and 2 board members, student council, and then
I would say 3
I'm not even sure whether, if any of the coaches know about a task force, like, that discussion. So I'm not sure if any of the coaches were at the meeting that night. When that was discussed.
Okay, so maximum of 10 individuals from the task force. All right. Okay, so moving along to the next agenda item. Any other business? We do have a school board, or a school district purchase of a cell phone plan for the superintendent.
My plan for, you know, in today's world, dial-up phones, they are not used, and people reach out via cell phone, and my plan is to connect with the board, you know, via cell phone, connect with staff. My number will be readily available for all of our staff, also be available for any community members that would like to contact me with any questions. My philosophy is I would rather have a community member reach out to me, even if I have my cell phone out there, and for anybody to reach out with those questions. I'd rather hear those questions, hear those concerns, rather than have them be festering out there. But with that, I think it just for the ease of communication and making that possible for the board, for staff, and for our community, would like to pose that the district purchase a cell phone plan for me. And that could look a couple different ways. It could be that the district owns the plan, that the district owns the phone. Right now, it's $42, I believe, is what we looked into for the cell phone plan per month. Plus, we would have the screen protector, the case, that kind of stuff that would be along with that. So it could be just and also with that plan, you can get a phone that's $1,200, or the plan also comes with phones that are free or that cost $1. So I would not need the extravagant $1,200 phone. I would go with the free option. I don't think it's even worth spending the $1 on it. I think it's going with the free phone is something that we would want to make sure we're staying responsible on that. So the options would be that the district purchases the phone, and then that is all through the district, and the other option would be that it's a stipend. So it could be a $45 stipend or $50 stipend, whatever would cover the approximate cost for the case and for the screen protectors. So those would be the two options that I would pose to the board if the board felt that it was appropriate for me to have a school paid for cell phone.
I know working in the medical industry, at a fair where we had to be on call and, available after hours, they did provide us a stipend, simply because it was probably easier. Everybody got to go with their kind of preferred provider, and, kind of capped it at a specific dollar point. But I think it is reasonable to provide someone that's taking calls again after hours, in evenings and weekends, and is available. I think it's reasonable to provide a stipend for that.
What do you prefer, Jake? Would you rather maintain one cell phone or two?
Either one is fine.
Or are you gonna be getting a local phone number on your current plan?
Yeah, I would get it if the board chooses not to pay for the superintendent's plan. I'm still gonna get a local number. I haven't.
In the scenario that you have it, I guess.
I'll keep this phone number for my current phone, just because I have so many people back to my college years that are tied to this number. So I'll have an additional phone that'll be my work, considered my work phone. It'll be a 605 area code number, and I'm really excited to get that number. It's perfect timing, to throw this out there, and that's, I don't want the board to be caught off guard. The first board meeting I'm leading, and I'm asking for a purchase of some sort. It's more so the timeliness of it, that I haven't got a number yet, so it makes sense to bring it up now, that whether that's a stipend, whether the board chooses that that's not something at this time that you're ready to do, then I'm still gonna get that 605 number. It's still gonna be out there for everybody to be able to contact me via that number. So just wanted to throw it out there as an option before I move forward with that.
If you're gonna maintain your own cell phone, to me, it makes sense to have the district provide you the second waterfall.
I think the
I thought you were
stipend
gonna
would
go
be the
a
better of the
different
two options. You think the stipend would be the better of the two options as opposed to the school having to, its own plan, and that way it's just under Jake's purview?
Yeah, and the IRS, they don't mess with it anymore. We had a discussion about it at last business manager meeting. There's quite a few other schools that do it.
The stipend route. So
It's fine with me. Suppose you need that in motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to provide a $45 stipend to the superintendent for a monthly cell phone.
Motion by Slade, second by
Doug?
Emily.
Emily?
Sure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just for clarification, Jeremy text, was that student council president and vice president both on that chair? Is that, yes, is that what we, how you said that? On the committee, sorry, not.
I wrote both of them were considered as part of the 7.
Okay, so yes, Jeremy. Thank you.
Okay, any other business? Okay. With that, we'll require a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of SDCL 1-25-2, parentheses 1, discussing the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness of any public officer, employee, or
See you guys.
prospective
See you, Shane.
public officer or employee.
So
Okay,
moved, Slade.
Kyle,
Motion by Kyle, second by,
Slade made the motion, Kyle made the second.
okay, Slade, Kyle.
Deb didn't bring
All
her
in favor,
list.
say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, with that, we'll start the executive session at 8:19.